If you succeed, you were never born. But if you were never born, you couldn't have traveled back in time to stop him in the first place. Which means he lives. Which means you were born. Which means you go back and try again. This is the grandfather paradox, a single thought experiment that has quietly terrified physicists for over a century because it doesn't just question time travel. It questions whether the past can even be changed at all. The idea first appeared in science fiction in the 1930s, but it was French writer René Barjavel who gave it the name we still use today. When he described the exact scenario, a man traveling back to kill his own grandfather before his father was ever conceived. What made the idea so unsettling wasn't the murder. It was the logic trap hiding underneath it. This isn't a moral puzzle about right and wrong. It's a structural contradiction, a chain of cause and effect that consumes itself. Every outcome creates the exact condition required to prevent that outcome. There's no version of the story where the loop resolves cleanly. Here's the part most people don't expect: this isn't just a thought experiment for philosophy classes. It's a real problem in physics. Einstein's equations for general relativity technically allow for what are called closed time-like curves, paths through space-time that loop back on themselves. Mathematically, nothing forbids them, which means somewhere in the equations that describe our universe, time travel isn't obviously impossible. That should terrify you a little, because if the math allows loops, the math also has to answer the grandfather problem. And for decades, some of the sharpest minds in physics have proposed radically different escape routes. One idea, championed by physicist Igor Novikov, is called the self-consistency principle. It states that if time travel is physically possible, the universe will only allow events that don't create contradictions. You could go back and try to stop your grandfather, but something would always intervene. The gun jams. You get delayed in traffic. Fate, in a sense, protects its own timeline. A second, stranger solution comes from quantum mechanics, the many worlds interpretation. Under this idea, traveling back and changing the past doesn't erase your original timeline. It splits reality into a new branch. In one universe, your grandfather lives, and you're born exactly as before. In the other, he doesn't, and a different version of the timeline unfolds without you, untouched and unaware. Both theories solve the paradox, but both come at a cost. Either free will quietly disappears, or reality secretly multiplies every time someone tries to break it. Strip away the time machine, and the grandfather paradox is really asking something deeper. Can a system act against the very conditions that created it? You see smaller versions of this everywhere. A company built by rule-breaking creativity eventually creates rules that punish rule-breaking. A person shaped entirely by their past tries to erase that past while still using the mind that past built. The paradox isn't really about time travel. It's about the impossible dream of standing outside the very story that made you. The grandfather paradox has never been solved, not truly. Only bypassed, redirected, reframed by theories that each ask you to give up something fundamental: free will, a single reality, or the past staying past. Maybe that's the real takeaway. Some loops aren't meant to be broken. They're meant to be understood. If this bent your brain a little, subscribe, because next time, we're going somewhere even stranger. And tell me in the comments, if you had one trip back in time, would you even risk pulling the trigger?